All right. I'm here with my friend Cam. Uh, Thanks for being here, man.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah. Uh, we were just speaking right before we jumped on here about how it's been a little while, about 6 months since we last saw each other at the Glue Hackathon, which hopefully we'll get to. We can talk a little bit about that. But I wanted you on because you're always one of the great guys to be able to speak to, and you've got a cool story. So yeah, I'm excited to chat more and hear more about what you're doing.
Thank you.
Yeah. And so what the big thing that I wanted to talk about, and we'll hear a lot of the story of everything in it, but do you want to first kind of introduce who you are? You can say whatever you want about yourself and then introduce Faith.Tools that we're going to talk about.
Nice. Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm Cam Pack, and I create what is known as Faith.Tools. So if you go to that website, Faith.Tools, you'll see a directory of a lot of apps for Christians where there's a lot of like different pieces that kind of came into the origin story of this, but it's important to share. So little of my background is I live in Edmond, Oklahoma. I have a wife who's awesome. Her name's Hannah, and we have now a 2.5-year-old son named Bennett, and he's sweet. So I worked at YouVersion as a full-time employee, did different roles there, worked there for a while. And at one point in that, I got sick for, it was just health issues. I got sick for about 7 months. And that kind of I was nauseous. I was dizzy, I couldn't work. So they let me go on short-term disability. And it was interesting because that time was like the first time it was just me, God, and I didn't have to prove myself to anybody. And so what I struggled with was fear of man, um, very deeply, caused a lot of anxiety. Like I was consistently anxious most of my life, and I just didn't know. Like I just thought that was normal until I met my wife, because then she showed me like what freedom looked like, but I wouldn't have worded it that way at the time. And then, yeah, just God began to show me how much I feared what people thought about me. Then began just to heal that, bring some healing on the inside. I went through some content that was through an app. The app was called Messenger X. It was by the Bevere family, so Joe and Elisa Bevere, and just listening to the audiobook of Through the Wilderness, something like that. Man, I was going through a wilderness season, and so it was just very healing to my heart. And then healing began to happen on the outside, was able to come back to work. Why any of that matters is coming out of that was I knew I wanted to code. Like I could not stop thinking about code. And then I felt like God was prompting my heart that I was going to code again, except that it wasn't at YouVersion, which
Mm.
made no sense to me because I kind of like grew up in like YouVersion, like for my career time. I'm 29 now. When I started, it was a while back. When I first started, I think I was 19. So many years and stuff have gone by. Wait, let me think. Is that
You
true?
version?
That's not true. I was 21. Yeah, I was
Okay.
21.
Oh well, a couple of years. So about
Yeah,
eight
I was
years
just
then. You were at U version.
no, I was there for about 6. And so
Okay.
then there's some time doing like startup stuff, which is like where that a startup appeared. They were doing homeless outreach or homeless ministry work, and they needed
Mhm.
someone to help build their app. And that was what kind of was confirmed in my heart and my wife's heart. See what this would become. See if this is
Mhm.
something, and got to be part of that. And then work on a couple other startups since. But then when I wasn't, the reason why any of this matters is when I wasn't working at YouVersion, it was like, man, where are my people? They're
Mm.
all working at YouVersion, and I like love YouVersion, but I'm not working there at the time. I'm not working there daily. So where are my people? And I find them on different corners of the internet. There's a guy named Anwar, and he goes on Reddit, and he's like, "I'm screaming at the top of my lungs. Where are the people like me?" Something like that. And he like,
And
I don't know if it was
when you say my people, what do you mean exactly?
that's a good question. I wonder what people are thinking right now. They're like, oh man, what does my people mean? My people means like the geeky people who love the Lord Jesus and want to create, can't help but want to create and do something, use their skills and talents for Him in some way,
Yeah.
shape, or form. So in this specific case, it's like the geeky tech people who love Jesus, who are like, God, I'm giving you my talents.
Mm.
And that's the people that I'm like, I would say that you're one of them. And so I met you alongside somehow in the process, but I get to meet people. I see like I'm creating things, I'm excited, then I post about it like on Twitter and it's like, is that it? Is that where it lives? How did people discover and find this stuff? Because I
Yeah.
wasn't making like mobile apps. Okay, then other people are creating stuff, and it's so cool to see what they're creating. Like, man, is there? How do I bring these people and their creations together to kind of just showcase what exists out there? Like, there's so much high quality, really cool stuff people are creating that
Yeah.
just doesn't get seen, and it's maybe because we could grow with marketing, or I don't know, maybe there's a bunch of other reasons, but I was just surprised to see there was not a directory of apps for Christians at the time, or at least there wasn't one that was ranking high on Google that you could just go and reference that people would say, "Oh, just go to this." There
Yep.
was other reasons too, like Hallow is a Catholic prayer app with the Bible and stuff, and it has reached
Either
number
app.
1 in the App Store on the free charts, I think twice.
Okay.
And I I don't know if Apple wrote a story and said, "This is app of the day," or like, you know how they have like their home on the App Store and they share stories and stuff about different apps and things. I haven't seen them do it for a quote unquote like religious app or a
Mm,
Christian app, and I don't think that they will. They have reasons to not do so, because they want to please a lot of people, but in doing so, they're accidentally like they're missing out some really cool stories.
yeah.
Yeah, so that's kind of like how a lot of this began to come together is just I'm hearing what people are doing, I'm making some stuff, and I just want to piece it all together and like make it easy for people to find these things. Slowly but surely it's been doing good and growing, and we just hit I think 36,000 page views per month, which is I
Awesome.
would say it feels good to have a milestone like that. For some people it's like, oh, that's tiny, but it's like even if this is tiny, this is humble beginnings and it's beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah, you got a great start. I will say one of the things just to add on to what you're saying, one of the reasons that I think I connected with you well is and the why I continue to like to chat with you is you do have this like heart to want to connect people and apps in a way. It's not at least I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I think in previous conversations, it isn't just about getting the word out about the app to other people necessarily that could use the app, but also to like find a way to connect these app builders in a way that's like, "You're building
Yeah.
something great, you're building something great." Like, let's not
Yes.
overlap everything that we're doing and build some sort of
Yeah.
connection. Yeah.
So there's an amazing guy who works at Switchboard. His name's Scott Eloquin,
Mm,
and he called me many times early on in Faith.Tools. I think he's just like mentor like. He's just so easy to talk to. So I was telling him like, yeah, now that I have this directory of these apps, I can help showcase what doesn't exist and like the gaps and stuff. And he was like,
mm,
he kind of just challenged me to think like, what about the people who are creating things that are similar? And it would be worthwhile that they could meet each other and collaborate,
yeah,
and that there would be less duplication and more, less hands being like held tightly and more hands held open. I've seen God bless open hands and hands with a tight grip. Maybe I'm just not good at seeing it, but it's harder for me to see God's hand blessing hands that don't want to open up and
mm,
loosen control. And I'm guilty of that anyways. But yeah, Scott was a big reason in helping me see, oh, I see what's happening here. I see what's happening here. I'm not sure if other people see this connection. And like I love helping people and I love helping people feel seen. And so yeah, sometimes I'll just connect people. Other times where it's bringing them into community. So I have a couple of resources to help people find these like online faith and tech types of communities, some in Discord, there's some in Slack, there's some in other places. So I want to see more and more like in person, and I don't know how to solve that one just yet, but it is awesome that there are so many options for connecting and meeting people. And
yeah.
even to the extent of what you're talking about of connecting apps is, that was something that I helped work on at Glue Hackathon. It
Yeah.
was opening chat, and it was how do I help bring people's app together? How can someone surface the best parts of their app into my app? And it was using MCP, which is Model Context Protocol, as like the tech underlayer, as well as something which has since changed, but it was called MCP UI, which is the UI version of that. That's now changed to like Apps SDK or something different. I don't even remember what it's called now, but
Yeah.
the heart was people are building so many cool things. And how can we bring the best parts of that into other apps so that people don't have to duplicate things? For example, one of the examples at the time was this idea of what if YouVersion created a Bible reader or some components like that that could be brought into my app. So then I don't have to go and recreate that, as well as figure out how to get all the permissions to do so, which it's an honor to be able to be part of. Like, I'm contracting and helping YouVersion. I'm one of the small, like one of the many people helping create the SDKs, which would allow something like that to happen and be given to other people. So I love seeing how can we be generous with one another and help one another, because I think in doing so, we'll create way better things and have better ideas, and also just be happier because we have more friends in the space.
Yeah. I want to ask you a few questions about the project that you did at the Glue Hackathon.
Yeah. Yeah.
By the way, you got a prize for, I forget what you won. What'd you win?
It was, I don't remember the exact wording, but let me,
It's okay. But you
it
did
was
win one
something.
of the categories, right?
Yeah, I did win a category.
Yeah.
I don't remember if it was like innovative or like something, like it was highlighting the potential of the technology. I
Yeah.
just don't remember the exact words right now.
But if I remember right too, you had only just thought about the idea like right before it started, right? Or like within the time frame of working on the project. Is that
Yep.
right? Yeah.
Yeah. It was kind of all culminating together. Yeah, it was with Wes and Leah Brooks, and
Yeah.
we were working on an app for work. That was a contract that I got to help with, which was really fun. But then we started seeing like so many different like parallels of like, okay, well, what if we could go to the user? What if we could bring our experience? Maybe in this case, it was like, and what we were building was like, what if we could bring some of our chat to other places, so that, or agent to other places, so that people don't have to just be stuck with one app, because maybe they're going to use ChatGPT, maybe they're going to use Anthropic. And then we just MCP comes out, so Model Context Protocol, which is like one of the first times in a long time for how can, so in the past, integrations were very hard because you had to know how exactly something maps to something else. And then you have to make some sort of way to transform the data from this to this. So, like, how does it fit? And MCP was cool because if somebody just gave you the MCP endpoint, the URL, and you just say you plug it into whatever tool uses it, then it gives you back all the tools that it has. It tells you, hey, here's all the tools that I have at your disposal. Here's how I accept things, and here's how I will return data back. And you don't have to worry about that. All you need to know is just like, does the AI have context about this? Does the AI know about this? Okay,
Mhm.
it does. Well, now I can go do this thing. So one of the demos was like, hey, fetch me like, what is today's verse of the day? And it could go just like find that tool, call it, get the verse of the day, bring it back, and then display it in some UI. And so that was really cool to of that technology. And then what I just explained was a little bit about the open chat that was created. But
Mm.
it was so cool to see, like, for the first time ever, integrations were not like hard. They
Yeah.
were way more approachable than ever before. And I think it's like, yeah, absolutely, because of MCP, which makes it easier for Christians to like integrate well with one another. MCP isn't the end all be all, but it is a really cool way of seeing how can we make it easy for someone to work with me.
So have you taken that and done anything more with it since the hackathon?
No, nope,
Not yet?
not
Not yet.
open by itself. I've played
Okay.
around with other things in the AI landscape. For example, for Faith.Tools, another responsibility I have is to make sure that these apps stay up to date. People have high quality, good information. So, a little bit of background too is these apps all have to be taken through some selection criteria just to make sure, like, is this something that I would truly recommend as a believer, but also as someone stewarding the space? Like, I feel a spiritual responsibility to make sure that I'm being diligent. So, because if I recommend something to somebody, and if it says things that are against the Bible or against the way of Jesus, but they're thinking that it is, and it causes them to sin, I would feel so bad. And yeah, I just don't want that. I want to be extra careful. So I created this agent that runs, now it's every 2 hours. It was every hour. And what it does is it goes, finds the next app inside of Faith.Tools. And then if it hasn't been like updated in the past 30 days, and it does like deep, deep, deep research on the app. and it will go and find, even to the extent of, here's a podcast that Corey was in for sermon shots, and Corey said this quote about sermon shots. Now that quote isn't listed anywhere, but now it's going to be listed in the description of the app on Faith.Tools. So just finding really good relevant information, as well as making sure that it's linked out to, so that people could figure out, is this accurate? If you take two, like, okay, here's some generative output from AI. Here's some generative output from AI over here. If one has like attributions and like the footnotes and ability to click and go to the source, I'm going to trust this one way more than if this one just had text, because I'm not sure where it got it or how it pieced it together. So then that helps me get good data to be able to have descriptions for apps so that they're up to date. So I have to go through and like just make sure um, that things are good and formatted well. However, I put together pretty good structure, and I'm very pleased with the results. So little things like that is, now we have the ability to use the power of a computer, but at the ease of something like using your voice. And so I feel like this is kind of the idea of what people wanted computers to be. Like, I tell it to do this thing and it does this thing and it comes back. And now we're finally at that place, which still is humble beginnings of AI and future of computing. And it's really cool.
Yeah. Well, cool. So, are just speaking of AI, then I'm curious from your standpoint as a coder and somebody who's been doing this for a long time. How much are you using some of the new AI coding agents, and what's what do you see as good? What do you see as bad? Because I'm using it a lot, and I am not like an expert coder like you are. So I'm curious from your standpoint what you think about how it's
I
working.
don't think I don't think I'm an expert, but I am technically a professional because that's my profession.
Correct.
They say if you spend like 10,000 hours doing something, you're a pro at it. I don't know if I've spent 10,000 hours, but maybe.
You're probably
So
close.
thoughts and opinions on AI is, it can be very helpful. It can be extremely helpful if you, especially if you have a plan for what you're trying to do. So I'm talking specifically in terms of like coding and stuff.
Yeah,
If you
that's
have
what
a
I'm
plan
curious
on what
about.
you want to do, even if you want to riff back and forth with the AI and say, this is the idea of what I want to do, ask me questions. What questions do you have? What gaps do you have? What context do you not have? And just go back and forth with it. To make sure that you have a good plan is probably one of the best things that I've done and that I continually do, is like fight to have a really good plan and give it the right context, so that when it is executing and doing things, then it's like, as long as the plan isn't too big, like it's just you're zooming in on one thing you're trying to fix,
Yeah,
then AI can be incredible. Now there's like a ton of tools. There's too many tools out there. So it's hard to pick, but I say just pick one. I think
yeah,
Cursor, if you're wanting to get into the IDE and like see the code and stuff, Cursor is like really good. They have a plan mode. It's worth using. A lot of people use Claude Code. I bounce between a few. One's called AMP Code, one's Claude Code, and then Open Code. And I use something called Superset. So Superset allows me to use all of them in one. Pretty much you have on here, like on the left side, this is my left. On the left side, you have your projects. In the middle, you have your terminal. And then on the right, you have like your files and stuff. And they made it where I could just click a button. I'm in AMP, where I could click a button and I'm using the terminal for Claude Code, or click a button. That's for like the more technical, but it's
yeah,
so nice to use. So I think the only thing that I want to leave people with, anybody with, is create a good plan, riff back and forth with AI, ask it, is there any way that we can make this simpler while accomplishing the same goal, the same task? And if you do things like that, then you can be sure to have a good enough plan to let it run and that you feel safe. Because if you want someone to go watch your dogs and go feed them while you're out on vacation, you want to make sure that you have good instructions, or you've taught the person very well on what to do, so that you can feel confident that when they do it, they're going to be fine. Kind of think like in terms of that, because the AI is just like, I know what I know, I know what I can see, but there's a lot I don't know. And so your job is to give it context and make a good plan. And usually it turns out well. That
yeah.
isn't me
Have you?
speaking into like dangers of AI or anything, but AI coding can be great.
Yeah, have you ever done uh, a prompt to merge without looking at the code?
No, I always look at the
No.
code.
Okay.
So I'm not there, and I imagine I could get there if I have like, you have tools that can like run tests for your code, that
Yeah.
can say if your code is syntactically correct or not. And like, if you run all those tools and everything passes, there's a chance where I could see somebody like Here's the prompt. Here's what I want you to do and merge it in. Now, like a big project that a lot of other people are working on, I wouldn't, but like a personal project, I would. I just have not done that.
Yeah. Yeah. I would be cautious on anything that's going straight to live and used by customers for sure. But I have been as I've been testing it, I'm testing it on a project that I'm working on. And I I will say I used to code. I used to code kinda. I did build things in the past. I did get them to work. People still make fun of me for some of the code that I had in the previous when I first started. But I
That's
am
fair.
nowhere near like you. I learned to code more as a like we were trying to solve a problem in the business. I learned to code to solve that problem and then sort of moved on. So I understand the concept, but I couldn't anymore today sit down and write code and all of that. And so what I'm trying to do is I'm testing out a theory right now that I wonder if with my knowledge, if I could start to finish never look at code and see what the end result looks like.
I think
I'll
you
share that
could.
more. I'll share that more with you when I'm done. And I don't know yet what I'm going to do. What I want is like a professional to like look at it and see kind of like
Yeah. See what it
how they do.
created.
Yeah, yeah, I really do because I haven't looked at the code at all. Purely looking at it from a UI UX perspective only,
Yeah.
and my hope is that it gets somewhere close. We'll see, but
It
I'm
probably
testing that out.
does. So the interesting thing is you have this user focused mind and heart, and you know kind of what you're wanting them to experience. You're probably better off than a lot of people who are just like, how does this work exactly? How does this do this thing? Like more programmer mind, like more, how do I say it? Because I'm not trying to say one's better than the other, but I do think the people who have an advantage now in this is those who care deeply about the users and know kind of what they
Mhm.
want and what you're expecting to see. Because then, like, I will say, AI is creating better code than I am, or it's like thinking through problems better than I am, but I'm guiding it. And so I'm confident the code that it's going to write is either at par with what I want it or better. And I've been in the game for a long time. So, but the code quality is only going to keep getting better and better as these agents get better, as the training gets better, as like the resources and context it has get better, which makes it way easier for you to focus on the thing you want to focus on anyway. I'm not sure if you want to focus on getting everything, all the files formatted properly and like working and is this talking to this and hooked up. So I think you're at an advantage.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. I don't know if it's true or not, but we'll see. I'll let you know when it's done if it works or if it completely failed and every prompt now from now on just breaks it more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I met someone who what they worked on it was beautiful. Like it wasn't okay, it wasn't beautiful, but it wasn't ugly. But what was cool is they had so many different like mini apps inside of this app. And it was each one had its own focus, did its own thing. Somehow it all worked. They did it in Replit. So like and it was mostly like vibe code. It wasn't like I'm digging deep into the code and everything. I told
Hmm.
him it would be good to split it into like one focused thing, really focused, and then I can see it doing well. But like just the idea of how in the world did he create that many things and it still work? And
Yeah.
like he can prompt something else and it will still work. So I just think the agents are getting better.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the hope or the theory is that if you know enough to understand like what questions to ask and kind of the general direction of things should go, and you know when things are breaking and how to like, all of that, which are things that I learned along the way of coding, half-baked coding, I guess. So we'll see if it works out. Yeah. Well, the one thing I really did want to make sure I asked too as we're, wrapping up is like, Faith.Tools. Faith.Tools next. Where are you going with Faith.Tools? What do you hope to do with it long term? Yeah. And what's the coolest thing you're looking for?
What's been on my heart a lot lately is community. How can we be in communion together and pray together and like face to face or video to video more, but without it being like everything that already exists today? Like, because I would rather people just, I don't want another Discord or another Slack. I'd rather people go use those existing ones. There are some good communities and stuff now. So it's get still continuing to get to know people behind the scenes, people who are creating, sharing their stories. I want to get better at the newsletter because I think that's a great way to reach people, under resourced people well, mainly like the audience of people who would be using these tools.
Yeah.
But yeah, right now it's heavily focused on the creators. But the big grander vision is platform. So anything that you need to get your app and tool across the line and like into the hands of people, that's Faith.Tools platform. Faith.Tools community would be just like people wired like us who are looking for people to commune with, collaborate with, share things with. There is a couple groups, but there's a group that does a monthly call. So let me know if you're interested in that. And then and then the last one is, so it's platform, community, studio. And I'm consistently just like tinkering and building small things and anything that could make it easier for someone to go and create. So things that I like building is, I know that right now a lot of people will just say, go build this thing to an agent, and an agent will build it in like React. But the problem is sometimes there's like, for lack of better terms, sometimes React is a little heavy and like a foot gun at times. And then it makes it harder for someone who is like vibe coding it to understand, how do I fix this bug that I keep running into? AI will probably help you figure out, but there's primitives and things that I'm helping work on and build that would just be easier to give an agent, say, hey, build it in this way. And then it would be a lot easier to go back as a human and read and understand and maybe even tinker and grow in other ways. But it's, I don't know why, it's just fun. I love to
Yep.
build. I want to keep on building, seeing what other people are building. But my heart and focus is those who are called to create, those who love the Lord and want to create and, yeah, give God their talents, surrender their talents to Him. I want to help them succeed and thrive
Yeah.
and be open handed.
Cool. Hey, thanks for being willing to chat with me while we're recording. Before we go, Faith.Tools, that's easy. We know that's Faith.Tools. Well, what about you? Can people connect with you anywhere
Yeah,
besides Faith?
go to cameronpack.com, CAMERONPAK.com. And you'll see random things on their blog posts, projects I'm working on, haikus, just random things.
Okay,
So it's fun to have a creative outlet that isn't just social media. So I like my own blog.
cool. Awesome. Thanks again.